Thank you. All right. This is the August 6th, 2024 open public meeting of the Needham Library Board of Trustees being held via hybrid format, allowing remote attendance. First, I will take roll call to confirm that trustees, library staff, and persons anticipated to be on the agenda are present and can hear me. Trustees, Kay Cahill. Here. Rod Pettit. Here. Jay Fialka. Here. Michael O'Neill. Here. Megan Small. Here. Josh Small. Here. And me, Eric Grafe, I'm here. Library staff, Library Director Robert McLean. Here. Administrative Specialist Jenna White. Program Specialist Daniel Dillon is traveling. Recording Secretary Faith Christie. Here. And Daniel Tuttle is also here. We are delighted to have Town Manager Kate Patrick and Deputy Town Manager Katie King joining us today. Please join us at the table because we'll have you go early on in the agenda. We also have Brett Benson from UTEAL, who's working on our phase 1 of the library design work. Welcome, Brett. And Hank Haff, Needham's Director of Building Design and Construction. Okay. Do we have a representative from the Library Foundation of Needham speaking? Oh, great. Kathy is here. Okay, this meeting is being recorded. If there is a problem that prevents the completion of this meeting, we will reconvene at 7 p.m. on September 10th, 2024. I hereby call this meeting of the Needham Board of Library Trustees to order at 7:04 p.m. Public comments. We start off the meeting with public comments. Citizens are welcome to speak up for up to 3 minutes each, not to exceed a total of 10 minutes. Citizens are encouraged to inform the library director in advance of their intention to speak. Those who provide advance notice will be called upon first. While the board will take public comments under advisement, there may be no opportunity for discussion or debate during this portion of the meeting. Do we have anyone from the public here to offer public comments? No public comments this evening? Then moving on to minutes. I request a motion to approve the minutes of the July 9th, 2024 meeting, and then we can discuss. Motion?
Move to approve the minutes of July 9th, 2024.
Second?
Second.
So any comments on the meeting, on the minutes? Oh. Thank you.
Good.
No, and Rob has not joined virtually, right? Okay. Then I'll take a vote of acclamation to approve the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Minutes are passed. And then we move on to our first agenda item, which is welcoming Keith Patrick for a Town of Needham update.
Thank you. Just noticing the glitter, which means there was some great programming here. But I hope it's not. Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful. I feel like we're really far away over here, but I know we don't want to sit in front of the screen. So thank you for inviting us. We really do like to come and visit. Mostly we want to hear from you, but as you know, I tend to want to talk about what things that are happening. So we'll do a little bit of that. I do want to thank you for the staff and the trustees' willingness to support our Poet Laureate program. We currently are accepting applications for the Poet Laureate. We're really excited about this. We're trying to, so if you know anyone who's at all interested in poetry, please have them take a look at our website. It'll be in the news you need again. It's just a pet project of ours, and I'm just really excited to make it. So thank you. The other thank you, we had a visit from our sister city delegates from Beijing, China 2 weeks ago, end of July. And they were here for an extended tour. They just spent a lot of time and lunch. And so it was one of the best visits we've had with our delegation. They really liked the library. They went through genealogy and they spent a lot of time in the children's room.
Yes.
So it was a great event. You know, in terms of the I want to thank you, and the select board was very appreciative of your taking the time to write a letter about the select board's goal setting process. So they've met twice now to formulate their goals, and hopefully they'll be adopting them next week. So we thought we would talk a little bit about some that we thought you might find interesting. There may be others that you want to talk about. They certainly are, as you know, supporting the design and the construction of the first phase of the library plan, which is the second floor area, right? So I know that's next on your agenda, which is very exciting. When these things really, get from how it's ever going to get funded to what it's going to do. That's the best turning point when we actually get funding. So that's exciting. In terms of the select board initiatives, we actually started last year trying to frame them in. We have 7 goal categories, and within each goal category, there are initiatives for the year. And this year, we're actually including all of the initiatives that were started last year that we're calling operationalized, which means they're not goals anymore, but they're still on the plate of everybody who works here. So it looks big. And we also separated them into 0 to 18 months, 18 to 36, and 36 plus, just to give us a sense. And finally, what the board is going to do next week, we think, is to say, what are their priorities for the first part of 0 to 18 months? Because that's what we start doing essentially in September. We have 3 that we have to do that are sort of our top priorities. The first is the MBTA community housing, which Amy is expert on, and answer any questions you might have on that. That's going to town meeting in October. Our Stephen Palmer housing building is a former school that was the building itself sold under the ground lease, which is expiring in 2027, which surprisingly is not that far away anymore. So we are looking at starting the process, working with people who live there, and figuring out what's going to happen to that building, to housing, to the whole site. So that's what we're calling kind of a non-negotiable. And the third one is the quiet zone, which I guarantee you in 1 minute, 7:09, we will hear the train. That'd be interesting feedback from library patrons if they complain about the train horn. But train horn has become an issue, I think, particularly since it was an issue before, but since the pandemic, a lot of people work at home, or they're just noticing it more. And so town meeting had appropriated $750,000 for design of the quiet zone implementation. So we will be kicking that off this summer, design and trying to move forward. It's one of the things that we proposed is that Rosemary Street not be a quad gate, but be sort of a bollard situation that runs through down, and it works with your driveway. We've already done the math, so that one might actually get done sooner rather than later. So that's what do you mean by that? So there would be these stanchion bollards that are flexible that run sort of down the yellow line, so that nobody could go through them and around the track. So that all of these measures are to ensure that people don't slalom around. It's shocking how often I see it now. I can't understand why, but so preventing that. So in some of the other intersections where we don't have enough room to put in the bollards, there would be these gates that actually create a square that there's no way in. So there's always a way out, though. This is my PSA. Those barriers, you hit them with your car, you'll be fine, they'll be fine. So if we ever get trapped, push right through. That's my PSA. Great. Okay. Some of the goals that I thought would be interesting, one of the things the select board is doing is really trying to outreach to identity network groups and ask to be invited to their events. Instead of saying we want people to come to us, the board members are really trying to go to more events. So if you hear of events that are happening, multicultural events, any network groups that we haven't heard of, the board would very much like to hear your input. And this is also, those groups are also welcome, as are all boards. And so very often there'll be a vacancy or a project where the library trustees will meet with the select board. But if that doesn't happen for a couple of years, we should probably have a meeting, right? So if you want to do that, we'd be happy to schedule that. So for a while there were vacancies on the trustees, and so we'd have regular opportunity to say, well, let's use this opportunity to say what's happening. Public art. So this is something we're actually looking at. You want to talk about this one?
Sure.
You're more.
We had gotten an in-kind support from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, MAPC, to run an arts and cultural plan. And we had a lot of community engagement. And one of the recommendations that's coming out of that plan is to update our arts policy town-wide and try to create a more coherent system. If somebody wanted to do public art, how would they come to the town and ask us, and how would it be processed? It's not super clear right now. We actually have a number of policies that touch on art, and sometimes they're conflicting. So just trying to kind of zoom out and take a look. Interestingly, the library does more arts programming and policy processing than pretty much anyone else. So part of this will be looking at the policies that you all have in place. How do they, work? How do they differ from what we have in other town buildings? So this will take us a while to kind of work through, but it's a policy analysis, but also procedurally, once we have a policy in place, how are we going to staff it and make sure it's not quite as burdensome on somebody who wants to bring an idea around public art to the town.
The other interesting feature of it is how do we differentiate art from speech? So these are things I know the library wrestles with all the time, but we've adopted recently a flag policy that says we're only going to fly certain flags. That there's no decision about whether this is a flag the town wants to put up, that's what there won't be. So it's kind of, how do we make sure that we're not making decisions about art that is speech, but so there's all sorts of ways, and your policy has actually seems to have addressed that. You also want to talk about orientation?
Sure. We are working on an orientation for new board and committee members, although it'll be open to any current board and committee members. There's been so much turnover on a number of boards, including this one. And since I've started with Needham, we've heard quite a bit that board members want to hear from people who have had more experience being on boards, open meeting law, public records, some of that nuts and bolts, but also how does each individual board fit into the overall whole? How does Needham's charter work? What does town meeting have responsibility for versus the select board? Just providing more context. So we're working to put this on for the first time this fall, and then we'll learn from that and go kind of from there to hopefully make it an annual event so that we kind of catch people up as they're coming in, elected and appointed board members. Yeah. Thank you.
Will that be open to all boards and members across the town wide?
Yes, we'll send it out to everyone and all are welcome. And so, it's really here to new, so it might be, we'll have for some of you, but yeah.
Yes, although I always say every time I go to something on the open meeting law, I learn something new, so it's just really helpful. Another one that I've been working on with a committee and members of the staff and the select board is a review of our town seal and the creation of a brand logo. So we are very close on the brand logo. We had a lot of people weigh in with opinions on what it should look like and what the color should be. It looks like the board will be taking action on that next week, so we'll be starting to implement that logo, putting together where it's going to go and where it will place the seal. For instance, the big bellies on the common will have a logo and not the seal on it. The seal is really supposed to be used for formal things that are in the town's business. Then we're turning our attention to the seal. We have a great committee looking at really refreshing it. It will, I don't expect, and what the committee has said is they want to see a similar kind of a seal, but refreshed. So we're not going to replace the depictions that we have with, a bridge or something. But we have representatives of all sorts of groups and the Native American Indian community, and so it's really going to be sort of town seals have to go to town meeting, so that's something that's going to come up next year. So it's just a really interesting project. Yeah.
How old is the existing town seal? How long have we been using that? It looks old.
I think it's the late 19th century that a lot of them came to be. I should know this because I've been working on it for a year.
Is it 1917?
It's
Something like
it could
that.
be that, yeah. There were a lot of them drawn at the same time. I just was looking at, for instance, the town of Wayland. And it's almost exactly the same. You know, you have colonists and indigenous people with, features that, like a teepee, which would never have been east of the Mississippi and mountains and, strange things like that. A lot of them were drawn by the same person. I think there was a law that every town had to have a seal, so they started doing them all the same. Good thing we have Gloria from the story on there. She knows about that. Another one that we're looking at is exploring developing a community master plan. This is something that Needham hasn't done in the past. And so the first step in that is we're pulling together all of the individual plans that are master plans that could become a community plan. So usually a community's master plan would have things like education and transportation and utilities and conservation and those things. So, and we have we've done the parking plan, we've done the arts plan, we've done a housing plan. So we have a lot of pieces. So the question is whether we would put it all together and have a whole community agree on what our priorities are. So that's something that we're exploring.
Would that be something that's super high level in terms of like kind of almost vision for Needham, or would it actually be detailed in terms of stitching together some of the details of these different plans?
The ones that I've seen that take years and hundreds of people participating are to have a vision, and then each kind of subgroup would have its own individual initiatives in it. So it was huge, both high level and granular, but the concern that people have with them is that they're too big, they just go somewhere, you don't get it. So we may decide that having individual plans makes sense. So it's an exploration. But it would be, the strategic plan for the library would be an example of something that would be.
Right.
We've already done some. We're really moving ahead on working on benefits for town staff to recruit and retain people. One of the things the select board did at their last meeting was to adopt a policy that would provide enhanced family and personal leave benefits for staff. That's just an example of that. So we're really working on initiatives on a number of fronts because it's really hard to recruit staff, and we live in a very high cost area with limited availability of housing. We are losing people all the time. The number one thing they tell us is they can't buy a house. This is not. Another thing that is coming out next week, and I'll make sure you get a copy, is we finished our community survey. So every 2 years we do a community survey. 97% of Needhamites rate Needham as a place to live as good or excellent. So I'll tell you, they're all unhappy. 97% of them. I didn't write down the live resources. I meant to do it, but it was very.
It's good.
Always
High.
high. And I checked it. It was high in the garage. So that's you'll have that next week. Amy Nelson, our director of communications, will be presenting that to the board, and it'll be posted. That's exciting. Oh, you want to talk?
Sure. The select board added a new goal, so I think it's in the 18 to 36 month, but to start a civics academy. So a lot of other communities do this, and it's really an opportunity for our residents to apply and commit to going to multiple sessions over a number of weeks to really just learn the nuts and bolts of town government. So in a lot of ways, it would be kind of the board and committee orientation, but much more robust, and you get to meet with the various departments, and it's a great way to orient folks to how this government work and how can you plug in. So we'll be, I think, doing the orientation first, and then 18 to 36 months we'll pivot to the civics academy, and that'll be a great way also to showcase all the different parts of government. Kate often asks people like, oh, have you interacted with the town before? And they'll say no, and she'll say, have you been to the library? Do you have kids in the schools? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, there you go. So things like that, just to try to kind of bring more awareness and plug people in.
Who would you expect to attend something like that? I mean, how would you get people in the door? Or
Yeah.
who would you expect to come in the door?
Yeah, well, one example, I guess, in some sense, is the police department actually did an academy in 2020, 2021. It would have been 21, because we were in person. And we put it out broadly to the public, and the first meeting, we went around and said, what brought you here? And it was like a whole range of reasons. So I think we're just gonna blanket as broadly. Yeah, and see who shows up, exactly. And it's interesting because a few folks from that academy I've since seen become new town meeting members. I've seen them at other community events. So
I think this is fabulous. I'm
Yeah.
really excited about that.
Yes.
The only addition I would add is the select board has a whole slew of goals around climate. So protecting the tree canopy, really a multi-pronged approach on stormwater, how we're going to tackle the quality of stormwater, the quantity that we're grappling with, and what kind of levers do we have to help with stormwater to protect our public assets, but also for residents. Obviously, we've had so much flooding over the last year, and it's going to continue. And community energy aggregation. We have a pending application with the state to be able to offer Needham residents an alternative way to purchase energy outside of the average source option. And you can get a greener supply through that program. So lots on climate. Yeah, and transitioning to the EV first policy when we're purchasing town vehicles. Except fire trucks and things that aren't quite there yet, but a lot is there. So, yes.
Not quite there yet.
Yeah.
They will need some more. So we had good overlap on that.
Yeah.
Is that basically to help with just kind of formulating a more sound infrastructure in terms of moving towards EV and having more, what are there, like 6 charging stations at different various places? Because I know there's one by CBS and then there's another one somewhere else, but I just
We
don't.
have one at the pool.
Yes.
We have some right in the Chestnut parking lot, there's some at PSAP.
Right.
So, it's all in an effort to reduce greenhouse gases. So we
Right.
will be deploying, we've got a town meeting appropriation to start a level 3 charger so that we can start using the school buses,
Okay.
electric buses, so we're moving in that direction. So, yeah.
Gotta meet that final goal.
Did we formally adopt the climate action plan?
Select board adopted.
Right, okay. And so these are kind of building off of that.
That was an amazing effort by an enormous number of people.
Right.
They put together a very specific strategic plan. And when asked for feedback, they give, here's the 2 we want. And it's just remarkable. So we've gotten a lot of them done. We've got the adopted specialized energy code, things for aggregation, we have sustainability. So, yeah.
Right.
So we'd be happy to hear from you.
Well, I'll open it up to the trustees first,
Okay.
and then we'll
Then we'll go to the format.
then we'll go to the format. Are there any questions or comments that trustees want to make? To our, yes.
Just thank you for being here. Wonderful to hear, kind of behind the scenes, what's happening. And,
Yeah.
and, of course, if your master plan is coming along and being worked on, as you said, I think Sandra said you incorporate the library's strategic plan and there's other ways that you need us to play a role.
Is there a larger explanation of the MBTA housing that you initially had talked about? Is that something in conjunction with the MBTA, or is it just?
The state passed a law that requires communities that are served by public transit, including the commuter rail, to rezone for multifamily housing. And there's a whole series of requirements that that zoning has to meet to be compliant with that state law. So the best way to get more information than you'd ever want is to go to Needham's homepage, and we have a button that says MBTA communities.
Okay.
The other best way to plug in is the planning board is starting their hearing process on this, because these are zoning articles that will go to the October town meeting. So the planning board's next, they'll be meeting on August 14th and discussing it, but the public hearing is going to be September 5th.
I would add to that, another incredibly hardworking group that met for a year, it was called Home. A lot of people went, huge staff time, hundreds of people went to every one of the workshops. It was an amazing participation. And one of the deliverables was that the group filed the potential zoning with the state, and we just got basically an A+. So that, you know, they just worked so hard, and then there's so many people who were involved and really gave feedback. So,
And I've been looking at the maps that
Yeah.
Home has produced, and the library's right in
I
the
know.
center of the new zone, so.
You're in the quiet zone and the.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're really, so we're gonna be, you know, presumably somehow impacted. There might be some close by multifamily housing that ultimately might get developed there, so. Be very good for the library.
I'm glad to hear about the benefits, because I know that we've lost a lot of staff to here at the library. So anything to help retain folks so we can get some consistency and improvement there, I think is really important. So I'm glad to hear that, because you know, these things change quickly, but don't change as quickly. So I'm glad to hear that they're being looked at for sure.
We have a big staff turnover, as you know, and I'd love to stabilize that.
Yeah, I'll just add that, you know, I heard in the goals that you described, I hear a lot of echoes of the things that we wrote in our letter, which is very encouraging when it comes to recruiting and retaining staff, and obviously the design and construction that we're hoping to do, and the ways that that serves the overall community as we're doing this kind of the different community plans, both housing, quiet zone, as well as thinking about how we're moving toward a master plan for the community. So we definitely want to be partners on all of that. And I feel very encouraged by our director and his outreach to the community. He really, I've been very impressed by Rob's efforts to get to know the community, but also to be there in these conversations. So, so I hope you see us as a partner. We're at time for our next presentation, but
I just had one comment concerning staffing, and it may apply to the other departments also, but, and you're probably aware of this, and obviously we appreciate all the town, your support for all we're doing for the library, including the space planning and everything. One of the things that's been on our mind for a while is the issue of part-time versus full-time staff for library, and the impact that has on benefits versus no benefits, and staff leaving versus not. And so we appreciate all the priorities that the town has and all the financial obligations. We understand them, but you know, it's worth having a heads up that one of the things on our mind for the library as we go forward is perhaps, depending on Rob's conclusions and others, a notion of perhaps shifting the percentages of library staff to more full-time than part-time than the current ratio in order to protect against.
I think we're open to that. I mean, it would have to be a comprehensive, thorough evaluation of how it would make improvement.
Yeah.
But
That's fine, thanks.
that is an important one.
And
Do you have a question?
Sure.
Okay.
Echo what Jake said. My question had to do, one has to do with the benefits, if you're looking at it from part-time people, for that exact reason. Dave Davidson is not here, so how is the funding picture for the town? Usually he gives us an update on that.
that. And then just quickly, maybe another time, is West Street, which could be house at 100 West Street, as well as the missing land, which is now vacant. All of those part of the bigger picture of the town.
So West Street is in,
Take that last
you want to take that one?
Sure. The parcel at 100 West, the corner of West and Highland, is part of the rezoning under the MBTA Communities Act. And the owner is actively involved and engaged in talking to the planning board, so they're interested in developing the site. The former Muzzy property has been permitted, so the current owner has a special permit. They could go and build when they are ready. We've not heard from them, so we think the market has not borne out for them right now.
I would say Dave had another meeting tonight. He would
Yes.
very much be with us.
Let water sewer rates, I
Uh,
believe.
RTS.
Oh, RTS rates.
He doesn't want us coming and talking about the financial picture. I did ask him, I said, well, Lois asked me. About the picture. You know, this is an interesting year. This big election that's looming for us is gonna just be, there'll be a lot of unknowns until we know what happens and where things are. We're expecting, frankly, that, you know, we've been growing a little faster than our sustainability target, and, you know, there's reasons for that, but it can't continue. I think we're a little more conservatively concerned about FY26 than they were FY25. So, you know, that's really on the operating side. I think the capital, we pretty much know what revenue we have for capital and put it there. And we can, I don't expect that things that we have recommended already, we would be pulling back unless there's some kind of catastrophe, right? Yeah, we know when there's a catastrophe. We had a crash in 08, we had the pandemic, and those were regrouping years. Operating, I think it, you know, I'm telling people it's, you know, we add 2, 3, 4 FTEs a year. It's going to be a tough year for adding FTEs in 26. And I know your plan to look at full-time versus part-time may not be for 26, but I wouldn't not do it because I mean, those monies are being spent to reallocate them carefully. Really only affecting benefits, which is important, but it isn't. It isn't a deal breaker. So, that would be there. We always say that most things that people put in the operating budget requests, and it's very rare they get funded the first year. So, but it's really important if you think you're going to do something. You should talk to another manager about this. We have like a future form, and you know, you can put in like we want to be talking about this, and we want people to know about it. So that's something.
Thank you.
And thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Glad you could make this work.
Thank you for inviting us.
You're welcome to stay.
It's good to be here with the director.
Yeah, this is a little different for you.
And maybe we should thank you again while you're here for your important
Yes.
role in helping us choose the
That's
right
true.
person.
You really
Yeah.
shepherded
Very
us
much
through that process.
appreciate.
All right, and that moves us on to other exciting business, which is an update on our phase 1 design work from Detail. So Brett, hand the floor to you.
Wonderful. Great. Thanks so much. It's so nice to see all of you again. Nice to be with you. I'm going to share my screen. And while I do that, I don't know, Hank, if you wanted to add a couple words of introduction at all.
We've had several initial meetings. We're making progress. We're not final. We haven't finally settled on a schematic design as of yet, but so this is an update, and I know that UTIL and their team are working very hard. But with that, Brett, I'll let you get into the meat of things.
All right, great. Sorry to put you on the spot unannounced like that, Hank. So nice, like I said, to be with you all again. I think our last presentation to you was just about exactly a year ago. So I think we've come full circle into a good place. Just like Hank said, we're really at the beginning of this next phase of the process. So I don't have a lot of content to show you tonight. I just want to reintroduce you all to the conclusions of the space needs study, talk about some initial thoughts and gauge your reactions, and then importantly, go over the schedule for this first phase of the project. So just to remind you all of who we are and the team that's working on this, I'm Brett Benson. I'm a principal at UTL. I'll be the principal in charge of this project on the architecture side. I will be joined at some of these meetings by Nicole Reamy. Nicole's not here tonight, but she'll be working closely with me on this project. And we have a cast of consultants, some of whom have carried over from the study, and some are new because now we're into an actual construction project, which is quite exciting. And they're all listed over on the right. You might hear from them over the course of this project. And even if you don't, rest assured they're working very hard on your behalf to make this a really wonderful project. I wanted to show you a timeline for capital improvements. This might look familiar from the last time we showed it to you a year ago, but the only thing different is that the We Are Here has advanced a couple of steps along the way. So we did the space needs study back in 2023. We finalized the preferred options. We did a cost estimate and a final report that was completed at the end of last summer. And between then and now, the budgeting has been done. It's been entered into the capital improvement project, and here we are in the first phase of this project. And that kicks us off on a kind of typical design timeline here. So we're at the very beginning of schematic design. There are 3 design phases involved. There is schematic design, what we call design development, and then finally construction documents. Each phase gets more and more detailed in terms of the documentation that we produce and our thinking about the renovation that we'll be doing. There will be many touch points for stakeholder input. And as I'll show you on the next slide, many points where we'll be coming to you for your guidance and oversight on this process as well. That will then lead to a construction phase and the project opening to the public. So in a more detailed timeline, and again, take this as a draft, we're really at the beginning of this process, and there's many months ahead of us where some of these dates might change. But here's kind of where we are in the timeline. We're meeting with you all here. It's August 6th. We have just started schematic design. We are speeding towards some initial thoughts, and we will be gathering all of those together and working with our cost estimator to verify that those thoughts meet the budget that the town has allocated for us. That's really an important moment just to verify that all of our aspirational thinking meets the reality of the budget. And it's an important point for us to kind of calibrate exactly what the scope and ambition of this will be relative to the cost estimate. And we'll be coming back to you ideally in September, possibly in October, kind of depends on the precise timing of the cost estimate and the development of the drawings. But we'll be coming back to you to show you our continued thinking about the design, as well as where we've landed relative to the cost estimate, just so that you all can get an understanding of where we are relative to both of those things. We will also be meeting with the PPBC as we did during the space needs study and reviewing much of the same information that we share with you. A funny quirk of the schedule is that PPBC tends to meet on Monday nights, library trustees meet on Tuesday nights, and so there might be moments where we show to them content that we're going to show you the very next night. But rest assured that it will all be the same and that we've been working with the library staff very hard on kind of coordinating that message. And then you can kind of see these subsequent phases are ideally where we will get to a point somewhere in the middle of end of February where we'll be able to issue these documents out to bid. There's a bidding process in a timeline that's kind of has some statutory implications, so that lasts about 2 months or so. And then that is timed relative to town meeting for approval of the budget, including the construction funding that could start in the summer. So just about a little less than a year from now. And then that'll have a number of months. And then by the end of 2025 or maybe early 2026, we'll be looking to open to the public. So that was a really long way of saying we're at the very beginning of a many months long process and looking forward to coming back a number of times to show you our progress. So I wanted to next just review where we landed with the space needs study with all of your guidance and input. And these are slides that we had put together about a year ago, showing you kind of what you have today and the big picture of the various configurations and spaces within the library on the first floor and the second floor. Just like in the space needs study, the third floor staff areas really weren't part of that study. They're not part of this first phase either. So we haven't really developed a whole lot of floor plans or thinking around what's happening up on the third floor. But where we landed at the end of the space needs study is we identified 4 priority projects, and that you all as trustees identified those 4 projects and then also ranked them in a particular order. And I'll go through them 1 through 4. The first one is the one we're working on now, which was called back then the teens and tween space up on the second floor. That was identified as the top priority, both through our conversations with you, but also through all of the outreach and engagement that we did throughout the space needs study. The second area, the second project, at least as contemplated in the study, would be upgrading the children's area. The third is looking at the Rosemary entrance and creating a new multi-purpose room near the circulation desk. And then the fourth is looking at the Highlands entrance as well as the reference desk and kind of reconfiguring the area where currently world language is. So we're here talking about the teen and tween area. And I just wanted to go through some of the key points that we had identified back at the end of the study. And that was to create a space that was right-sized for the demand that teens and tweens are placing on the library. During the space needs study, we embedded ourselves in the library a few times to really get a firsthand understanding of the large migration of kids that come right at the end of school and totally transform the atmosphere of the library so that, and really kind of illustrated just how inadequate the current young adult space is in terms of space allocation. And so where we landed with is a significant increase in the size of that space. We had, during the space needs study, identified collections for teens and tweens and a variety of seating to accommodate all the different activities that we had observed happening in the library now and that we were planning for in the future. All right. So as Hank said, we've met a few times with staff. We started meeting just about 4 weeks ago and developed some initial thoughts. I wanted to point out a couple of important changes that the staff wanted us to consider relative to the conclusions from the space needs study. And I'll just go through these 4 really important points. The first request was to look at preserving a corridor to the left of the stair that is outside of the teen space. And the thought was that as it would landed in the space needs study, the only way through this wing of the library is past the art gallery wall. And it just felt too pinched that it would create a log jam, traffic jam of people trying to get to and from, that it would feel like that space was really cut off from the rest of the library. And so staff asked us to look at preserving a space to the left of the stair in this floor plan so that circulation could move all around that stair. And you'll see that in the plan that I'll show you next. The second question that we've been going back and forth on is to consider further if the tweens should actually have a differentiated space or collections within here. And for the moment, we have been, I think, a little bit agnostic. I think Rob can probably speak to his thoughts on it. For our current thinking, where we are in the design is we're just accommodating shelving space and seating. The third one over here is the shelving count. So during the space needs study, we had identified a reduction in shelving in the young adult area. And in the course of our conversations over the last few weeks, it has been confirmed that that actually wasn't the right assumption to make, that we really need to be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 shelves rather than the 300 shelves that we were looking at in the study. And so that's about a 33% higher count than you're seeing in the floor plan here. And so that's something that we're working on in the course of our design. And then finally over here is to study expanding the footprint of the teen area slightly, just so that we can meet the collection goals and the seating goals and kind of recapture some of that circulation space around the staircase. All right, so also in the course of our conversation over the last few weeks, we've started to think about how the teen space can break out into zones. And so here in a kind of word area, and I'll show you in a floor plan diagram next, is we've identified a few zones with different characteristics. And the first one is thinking about a kind of lounge area where the character of that space is that it's okay to talk. It's more inviting. It's a great area to hang out, to have fun. The furniture is more comfortable. It's flexible. And the program might be that you could have board games, that there might be a chance to be able to watch a movie in that type of space, play games and video games and that sort of thing. The second one that came out of the study, was developing an area that is more dedicated towards crafts and could also potentially be used as let's call it a quote unquote cafe space, a place where eating and drinking is acceptable. And so that suggests that we need easy to clean floors and furniture. It's a space that feels comfortable for those type of activities. It's inviting to be kind of a little bit messy, but also a place that is very much easy to maintain and to clean up. It's another type of space where it's okay to talk. We've talked about, trash and recycling and different types of furniture that might be in that type of space. And then in the upper right area, we also thought, on the flip side is that there's a lot of study that happens for teens in this space, and we need to develop areas that are maybe more quiet and areas that are more focused on quiet work and group study. And so that involves creating some amount of acoustic isolation from some of the noisier spaces in the teen area. You might remember back in the study, we talked about acoustic isolation between the teen area in general and the rest of the library, but even within that space, we're starting to think that there needs to be different levels of acoustic separation in that space. We do think it's very important to maintain visibility in all of these spaces so that staff who are in the space, or even staff who might be outside of the space, depending on the time of day and the staffing levels, can have clear sight lines throughout the space. That we don't want to have any hidden corners that might invite some activity that isn't perfectly acceptable in a library. And the types of furniture there might be study carrels and group working tables and that sort of thing. And then, of course, there are the stacks. There's a collection that we have to accommodate in the space, and other areas like a librarian's desk dedicated to the space, printer, storage is quite important, and so on. And so what we've started to develop is a kind of zoning of this space. One that is maybe a more vibrant space where it's a great place to hang out. There's a kind of hum and buzz of activity. And we think that that's appropriately located near the entrance to the space so that when you walk in, when the teens are walking through the space, that it feels really welcoming and fun and a great place to hang out. And then beyond that kind of welcoming moment, there could be areas of more focused study, areas that are quieter. And just developing that bubble diagram a little bit further, we think that there's even kind of divisions within those zones. And so this kind of front door area at the being an appropriate place for a lounge. Again, people walking in, maybe kids are having conversations with each other. It's a great place to have kind of comfortable seating and places where it's welcoming to be a little bit louder. And then beyond that, a kind of craft and cafe zone. So this is where the current mural is. There's a nice clerestory light that brings natural light into that space. but it's also nicely enclosed. And so the area where it might be okay to have a snack, it's very clearly defined that it's not throughout the space, that it's just in one particular corner of the teen room. And then in terms of the group study space, looking at spaces that are just beyond the louder lounge space, and trying to put group study closer to the windows where there's great natural light. That can be a type of coffee shop, or almost like a Starbucks situation where there are different tables. It's okay for kids to sit and work on group projects. It can be a little bit louder. It's a great place to be kind of alone together in the library, and feel like you're connected with people, even if you're just sitting at a table alone doing your own project. And then the final space is a quiet study space. And so what we're starting to think is to take the existing young adult area, including its glass partition. We take out all the finishes, we rethink the furnishings in there, but that actually could be a really nice space for to have a quiet zone, a place for more focused activity and more focused study. And just simply by adding a couple of doors, that it will be both a signal to people who are entering that space that it's the quiet zone, but also have a kind of physical separation. So that's really the most quiet, the most focused area of the space. And that's it. That's kind of where we are. Would love to hear your feedback. And like Hank said earlier, we're right at the beginning. So lots more work to do. Thank you.
That's really exciting. I think that translates so many of the things we've been talking about for the past 2 years into a really nice program-based design. So I'm excited to see where that goes forward, and I'd love to hear from other trustees.
I just have one question. Is there going to be a sound barrier between the cafe and the lounge and the rest of the library? I assume there is.
Yes, and so I should have said that at the beginning. What we had contemplated at the beginning or at the end of the space needs study is that there would be a barrier, some solid wall, some glass to preserve natural light transmission through the space. But that would kind of cordon off the teen area from the rest of the library to give a good acoustic separation. And then within that space, we're, in the craft cafe area, thinking that there might be, it could be a folding partition, it could be a more acoustic solution with sliding acoustic panels, but some way of demarcating that space so that if there's noisier activity, it can be contained to that space, but also a really good visual marker between this is the messy zone and then everywhere else is a kind of cleaner zone in that teen space.
The reason I ask is because without that, you'd probably want the quiet study to be closer to the other part of the library as compared to the lounge area. But if that's not an issue, that's good.
Yeah, and the reason where we've landed at the quiet study being in the current enclosed young adult area is that it, having that wall being there is just such an important separation, both from truly the acoustic separation, but also the kind of visual cue that your behavior should be different when you enter into that space versus the rest of the teen area.
I have a question. In the young teens area right now, the young adult area now, are there provisions being made to cool it down? Because that room is notoriously like 3,000 degrees.
Absolutely. So we will be studying that area in more detail with our mechanical engineer. I know that space has always been overheated given the amount of glass. One great idea that the group had while we were discussing this space is to use some of the furniture. In fact, maybe I'll just kind of flip forward to a slide that we had been doing internally, but use some of this furniture in the quiet study area to help shield some of the direct sunlight coming through those windows so that it's a little bit more manageable. I know that on a hot summer day in the afternoon, it's quite steamy in that space. And we want to make sure that it's a very comfortable space after this renovation is complete.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this looks great. I mean, I think our teams certainly could use a really great space to go. I'm happy that they use the library already, but to continue to encourage it. I'm just thinking of my own library use in school, and I used it a lot in law school, not as much in high school, but if I had something like this, I think it would have been more conducive to doing more studying. So I think this looks great. I really like the different areas that can allow for all the different kinds of study that teens do. Some people thrive in noise and some people don't. So we have all those options here, and the eating space I think will be really useful as well. So I really like this. I'm excited as well. Again,
Yeah, I agree. I personally have visited a few other libraries in the regions, and virtually most have a very clearly designated separate teen area. Some even have separate tween and an entirely different teen area. But I think that, this accommodates our needs really well. I wanted to thank you very loud and clear for identifying the problem with the very narrow passageway next to the directing most of the traffic is along the library, the art gallery, and the art committee, the art and exhibitions committee, which I chair, was also concerned about that. And we, during our last meeting in July, we drew up a letter to basically just put on your radar screen that we have a art gallery there. It's not designated. In fact, we would love to just see the words art gallery on that plan, because it makes us feel like we've forgotten that there is an art gallery. And so, and we are going to propose to the trustees tonight of approval of the letter, just kind of communicating to the PBBC and to you folks, the designers, to be aware of the library gallery, to be aware of the sight lines that are needed in the space as we move through this four-step project of design. So I just wanted to put that on your radar screen, and since you're not going to be here probably, I assume, for the full meeting, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. Thank you. It looks great.
Other thoughts? Rob, did you have anything you wanted to share about the process so far?
Yes, it's been great. I think the staff have had 3 great opportunities to provide substantial input that Brett and Nicole, their ears have been they've been so attentive. It's been like fantastic to work with them, because they've taken every comment very seriously that our staff had, especially Erin. She's really enjoying getting to work with them and provide the information that's needed to make sure this is a great place for Natives teens. And it's just what you see tonight and what you'll see in the end, a year and a half from now, when we do the ribbon cutting, is really, I think, due to the staff involvement over the past month or so, and the great improvements that you see. So it's just been fantastic so far.
It's great to hear. And other comments or questions for Brett? So can you showed us the timeline. Can you help us translate that into how we understand what we might be seeing next time we see you?
Yes, so here's the timeline. Oops, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, here's the timeline. So we are, like I said, there's 3 phases of design. We're in the first one here, which is called schematic design. At the middle to end of September, we will have concluded schematic design, including the cost estimate. And that's really where we need to reconcile the realities of the budget that the town approved and the aspirations we have for the space, and make sure that those two are in alignment. We expect to come back to you at some point after we have both of those things. So the kind of schematic design plus the cost estimate, to make sure that they're in alignment and make sure that you all agree with the direction that we'll be heading in for design development, which is the next round of developing the design as it gets a little bit more fine-grained. And then we're anticipating another meeting with you all sometime probably in December. Don't hold me to that precise date, but kind of that time frame, where we'll be in our third round of design iteration during construction documents. That's what this darker green bar shows. CD stands for construction documents. And that's where we're getting quite a bit more detailed with the materials that we're proposing, especially certainly the layout, but some details around where electrical outlets are going to be located, the type of furniture and where that will be located, all the kind of very more detail and nuanced aspects of the project. And that's what we'll be presenting to you all in December. So kind of here we are, this first meeting, just introducing the project and our thoughts. The next one, making sure that the overall plan of the space and the cost estimate are in alignment and that you all agree with that. And then the third meeting, looking at some of the more fine-grained details of the space.
So the next time we will see you will largely be about discussing the result of the schematic design.
Yes.
Phase. And then design development, is that largely a research phase, a research and development phase, and then the next real material production is the construction documents?
We'll be doing more drawings and design development. As on the architectural side, we'll be doing drawings throughout. During the schematic phase, all of our engineers create narratives around the types of building systems and some of the other engineering aspects that we'll be doing. Once we get to design development, those will turn into drawings. And so that's really the moment where we start having a more intensive coordination with our engineers and our consultants on the space. But the layout of the space will largely mirror what we'll have presented to you at the conclusion of schematic design.
And you'll also begin looking at furniture.
Yeah.
And both built-in and movable furniture.
Exactly.
Am I correct in understanding that the budget that's been approved so far, it takes us up to the point of construction?
Yes, we would need additional funding to proceed with the construction.
Right.
Sure.
She didn't need 2 weeks. No, okay. I just for clarification, the Library Foundation has naming rights to the library, which means we have sold many rooms over the years. The teen center that's in the back there, the original teen center, there is a naming right to that. That's a tremendous amount of money. There is a plaque there on that wall. So I know that there's going to be changing the walls. So I think it's important to understand that those naming rights are perpetuity, so that we need to make sure that we understand there needs to be a plaque somewhere to recognize the original. That's the naming rights to that. So I just want the architect to be aware of that as well, and also the.
Thank you for reminding us about the need to continue to honor those naming rights.
And there may also be other naming opportunities with the different.
We were talking about that as well.
Yeah, and I know we've also been thinking about, I don't think we have a clear policy on the timeline, like on how we determine the length of a naming right.
Well, it's my understanding the original naming rights were perpetuity.
Right,
I know
but going forward.
I'm going forward, there's an opportunity to repeat that.
Right, yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, because that is important that we honor those naming rights and think about how that's part of the overall approach. Other questions or comments for Brett or for Hank? We do need to move forward on the agenda. But thank you so much for coming and presenting this. I'll just echo again the comments by me and others. We're really excited about where this is headed, and excited that we have you back here working on this with us, and look forward to the next steps.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thanks, Brett and Hank.
Thanks, everybody. See you
Thank you.
soon.
Here.
Good job, guys, good job. So long, troublemakers. Don't forget your bag. That's fine. We can rock that.
All right. Well, that concludes the special business of the day. And that was really great. I'm very excited about that one.
That's very encouraging.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So Rob, we'll turn it over for the director's report.
I apologize for having to step out during Brad's presentation, but we had a pickup of friends' books.
That's all right.
These things you had a reason.
Yes. Would have been good if I fully understood what I was walking into. We do have a meeting on Thursday with Hank, Brett, Nicole, and Roy from UTL. So the work continues. So the trustees always, until the next meeting when Brett and company are here, feel free to reach out to me and know what's up, and share your input. It's all but it's good. And welcome. But you guys picked a great team to work with. You've been very responsive. It's been a great experience.
That was certainly part of the reason why we chose them.
So I thought I'd race through my report, 09, but always stop and talk about anything I skip over. But the reference form, just a couple of highlights. There's a new NCAP signage project that Allison Smith and Tamara Dalton are leading up for the second floor. Eventually, it'll be on the first floor, so all the Dalton team collection. Eventually, possibly into the children's department. But NCAP signage is just sort of wayfinding signage for patrons to find books or nonfiction, fiction and nonfiction books. So what we've made sure here is that this is a great temporary solution as we work through these 4 phases. So the signage is big, so all of our patrons, no matter how good their eyes are working, should be able to more easily find things in our football length shelving on both floors. And it's affordable, so there'll be 8x11 sheets that are laminated with our logo and branding. But it's great. You can see it'll be occurring over the next few months or sooner here at the library. So that would be a great improvement. As soon as we finish moving stuff around, finding everything on your phone. Not everything, but nonfiction collection and things like that. It also will be available for some staff to have access to and update as needed, as things are shifted from not new collection. Also, the reference for Erin and Tech Services are going to be weeding in preparation for phase 1 and the move of the teen collection primarily into storage, but to keep the core collection of high use items available within the library during next year's construction project. But a lot will have to go into storage. Hopefully we can find space on site so we don't need to spend dollars we want to spend on construction, on storage. Or maybe we can find free space within the town for storage for those 8 months or so when things are going to have to not be in the way here. So they're doing a lot of great work to make sure that collection is lean and mean. We do that. And then summer reading is not just for kids, and teens or adults, maybe even some of you, Jenna, are responding enthusiastically. And we've got, if you haven't dialed into the adult summer reading program, we've got some fantastic prizes. As Gerhard can tell you, he just signed my reimbursement form for over $500 of gift cards for all these great Needham restaurants and ice cream places. The grand prize is a $100 Visa gift card. So
Or the person who reads the most from the.
I think you get entered into,
It's a wrap.
yeah,
All right.
based on if you, yeah.
And the more reading you do, the more raffle tickets you get.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So there's still time, a few weeks left for that. It is on the honor system, so. Moving on to technical services department, the tech services team is doing this great work to serialize various collections within our overall collection. And so far, more than 100 series have been pulled from the collection, re-cataloged, and restored. So this is a big help for our patrons who are looking for parts of the collection, such as mystery, sci-fi, graphic novels, and so forth. And then I just want to highlight the long list of projects this month that Tech Services has been working on. They're doing lots of reading and making, probably next week, we'll do a soft launch of the puzzles and the board games. You will see tons of puzzles and tons of board games here at the library. And while we will kind of check them out, we kind of don't care if they ever come back. So we will check them out so that there's a usage checkout, but they won't be on a person's account as a checkout. But we have so many, dozens and dozens that were donated in the past few years that we want to share the wealth, and we're just happy for our patrons to use them, to get them into their homes or camp facilities or what have you, and use them, but we don't necessarily need to have them back, especially if a puzzle piece goes missing or a die goes missing. We don't want to get into the habit of having to count everything as a real part of our collection when it's returned. So we're happy with the generosity from all these donations by our patrons and residents of the town. Just happy to share them all and get more fun into the homes of new families. So look for that next week. There'll be like a soft launch for that. And then once we work out any kinks that might come up, we'll launch it. So.
Say more in the future.
I'll get back to you.
Not necessarily for me, but there is a very active Needham puzzle swap group that I'm a part of in the town where people just swap puzzles around.
Okay.
People get put on lists, and sometimes nobody wants one. It's gone through and it's gone through multiple
Right.
times. So rather than doing it on Buy Nothing or bringing it to the swap shop, you know, if this is an option, I would tell people. But
Perhaps.
not yet.
Perhaps in the future.
Okay.
Right now, we're drowning in
Okay.
puzzles and board games.
Okay.
So,
Let's go. I will check some out.
Technology and archives, Danielle is busy as always, doing a lot of upgrading to staff computers and stations. This is due to those yearly capital improvement project funds that we receive thanks to town meeting. She does a great job in making sure we are on the SIP every year so that our technology program has a regular update going on, and that she executes fantastically. So that's great. Also, we're updating and expanding our hotspot collections. So those have arrived, and she's working with tech services to add those to the collection now. So we have more opportunities for our patrons to connect.
And they can be, they're taken out, right? Hotspots.
Yes,
That's what Linda-
check them out, take them on vacation or take them home. At the internet.
Yeah, nice.
Well, how it's Danielle's department, children's department, whole page because it's summertime. So the first item is really nice. The group from the Needham Children's Center came and Paula did a great presentation on in the STEAM Center for 8 kids and 2 adults. can see the some of the jigs that she had. I was teaching a STEAM principles. On July 9th, while we were here having a boring trustees meeting, Gina in the children's department was getting ready for a stuffed animal sleepover party. And 34, I never heard the term stuffies before. And I guess I'm just behind. So stuffies, not stuffed animals. Okay. So there are 34 stuffies, including one from Jenna's family, who slept over at the library, had their picture taken, doing fantastic fun activities. And then each owner of the stuffy received the images and some information about the great time that their stuffed animal had here at the library, sleeping over. That was really fun, and thanks to Gina and her daughter and her daughter's friend to help make that happen. July 9th. Summer reading program is going really well. If got a bet going, Newman is winning right now, and Broadmeadow is in second place, with Needham Children's Center in third. So if you want to have your favorite school win, make sure you get those kids in those schools reading. So that's fun. Children's summer reading will be counted through the 18th, I believe. It's the online reading logs through the 18th. So summer goes quickly. That's only 10 days away. And then it'll be Halloween. We just had Halloween today. Paul and I, I'm like, oh God, Halloween. Yikes. And then I just want to talk about Magician Matt. He came last month. This is another great example of the recreation bar helping us out again. We were able to move this across the street to Memorial Park Field House. There's a huge group. He did a great job presenting magic, and gave each child a trick, a magic trick to take. And that was great. And
What was the issues?
what was the issue?
Yeah.
We had to move. It was July 8th. This room was like weird. Remember July 9th, the trustees meeting? Was this like uncomfortable?
Yeah,
It
you're
was
right, it was.
uncomfortable. I think there was like some last bit chiller work happening where
The chillers weren't, they had to put them in.
well, they were in, but I think they were working on the controls and stuff, so they had to come off at some point or whatnot. So I think that was the issue, because that was the issue last time. That's good. I don't think I'm missing things up. If I'm wrong, I'll probably tell me.
That was
and I'll
at
let
that
you know.
time.
Yeah. But we did move it the first time because it was chiller week.
Yeah.
Like Shark Week.
Yeah.
Chiller week.
Chiller.
So, yeah, so I'll move on to personalities, but to share some personal information with the children's department, which has had a very busy summer. But the first item under personnel is Allison Smith, our reference supervisor, is leaving. She's got a great opportunity to become assistant director at the Franklin Library, so we wish her well. So her last day is a week from Friday, and
This Friday?
Does she
a
live
week from
closer,
this Friday.
closer to Franklin? Because she knew we had an opening for assistant director coming up, I assume.
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Nor do we need to put that in the public record.
True. But yeah, like related to that, Jay, thank you. The postings for the assistant director and the reference supervisor should be posted by the end of this week. They just need the final okay from HR, and then will be posted. That'll be good to get things up. And it's a good time because there's not a lot of similar positions on a statewide level out there right now. So we should see a lot of good candidates.
Are you getting support that you need? Those are two pretty important big positions here at the library. Getting the support you need from the town, or you know, how are you managing? I guess I'm hoping that, you know, you're able to kind of keep the head afloat and with the lack of two positions.
Yeah. It's going great. Allison's here through a week from Friday, and she's putting together a lot of documentation for her successor or predecessor. But also Danielle's going to step up and help out running the reference department while there's no reference supervisor. So that's a big help. She did that last year before Allison was hired.
That's great.
And then for assistant director, it's just been like the team of Jenna and Rob.
Chugging along. Okay.
Making sure things
Make sure
blow up.
it's manageable.
Sorry about that. But yeah, the town is doing very good.
Okay, I'm sure they're aware that you're down staff.
Yes. And now, this week, there are two jobs that close. The part-time page job closes this week, and the part-time reference librarian position closes this week. So once that happens, we'll start reviewing those applications for those two positions. Never ends. The fun never ends. It's fun. You know, getting good people. Two good people who are starting this week are Wendy Wariski. She starts tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Full-time children's librarian. This is the position Veronica left. And then Kayla Newman starts as a part-time circulation assistant on Thursday night. So we're excited to welcome them to our team. Some really great news. Tamara Dalton, she's the technical services supervisor. She's going to accept into the inaugural class of this Strategic Library Leadership Development Program, which is run by Library Leaders in New England. So this is an in-person 3-day session that should be attending in November, followed by programs and meetings over the course of the following academic year to develop her leadership skills for library.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yes.
So that's exciting. That we're really proud of Tamara. And then just a list here of some meetings I've had since last season meeting. A couple I'll just bring to your attention. Kate mentioned the delegation from Dajing district. So there was 11 friends tote bags. So there were 11 of them. So that was great to show them the library. I think one of them noted that in Dajing, which is home to 2 million people, they have 2 public libraries.
Oh my gosh.
So this concept was new to them. We had lots of questions. We were very interested. I got a few invitations to come to Dajing. But I think
That's what happened when you give away a few bags.
yeah. But that was really interesting. And then they had lunch in there before they headed off. They had started their visit at Town Hall to the public safety building for a tour and to the recreation complex. Save the best for last. And then last Friday, he met with and gave a tour to Josh Levin, the newest member of the select board, as part of his orientation. So, as you may know, he was on the finance committee and I think was the library liaison. So, or library supporter.
Was he library liaison? I don't remember him in that role, but maybe he was at some point. But he did come up to me right after he was elected and said how much he loves the library, how much his son comes here and is a big library supporter, and I'm glad to hear he's been over here.
Yeah. So we did a tour, talked a lot about the library, but a lot about phase 1. He's super excited about that, and so to see him shoot you off and want to know what you know about phase 1. So it was nice to spend some time with him. And then phase 1, moving on. Just we've had 3 good meetings and another one on this Thursday with staff. past two meetings, we've included Tamara Dalton, the supervisor for tech services, who's got lots of great input regarding collection size and space needed. And then Erin has spent a lot of time during busy summer reading period to do all the counting and analysis of the new shelving units that are needed for the collections, the different parts of the collection, her collection, as well as how much storage space she needs for her program supplies and things. So that's been a great help. Buildings and grounds, you may notice that the public elevator, when the door opens and closes, it's no longer screeching, and that's because the motor has been replaced. So we thank Angel and his crew and Sam and everybody in town for making that happen. One ongoing issue is the third floor toilets and how they like to clog now and then and what that does. And so analysis is ongoing as to cameras, watching cameras report. Let's watch that. So
Is that
stay
outside the
tuned.
bathroom?
In the building, but yeah,
Okay.
the third floor, it's only a third floor. Yeah, so not public. Those are the staff only toilets in there. So,
But we don't have cameras in the toilets.
no, I mean
That's
going
what I
down
was
the
asking.
pipe. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Which we would understand why you wouldn't want to watch.
I'm sorry. Oh my God, this is being recorded. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Especially if Kate and Katie have already left.
Oh my God.
Strike 10, Faith.
I assume everybody's in my head, you know. No, down the pipes.
Okay,
You know, to see what's causing the
Yeah.
clog.
Figure out what the plumbing is doing.
Yeah.
That's better.
Thank you for that. I would have had like a lot of emails tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
What did you
What?
say?
Where are these cameras?
For the record, the cameras are in the pipes.
Yeah, temporarily to help find out why
No
they're
humans
clogging.
involved.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, and if you ever visit Danielle Tawa, you'd see that there's no lock or handles on her door. Her is broken, so it's being fixed. The lock mechanism has been ordered, and then we're still waiting for the masonry work to be scheduled outside. Financial reports. So the operating budget report's been provided to you, and we just started the FY25 spending, as we typically do with some big bills related to annual subscriptions, and the most important one of that is our Minuteman bill, which is a big chunk of the $68,000 you see that we've already spent. We've already spent half of our expense line item. So things are going well, and Jenna's worked really hard to get all of our contracts in place with our vendors for FY25, which is a big process in order for us to then set up purchase orders, because purchase orders need to be in place before we can place any order. So contracts, purchase orders, then buy stuff. So it's a huge amount of work, and thanks to Jenna. And so now Tamara is working on getting information to our selectors for the books and materials in our collection to let them know what they have to spend in the operating budget for this year. So that may make you think, well, what have they not been buying for the past 5 weeks? No, they have been, but they've been using money from the Friends that's given to us for materials use, and then money that is from the trust funds. So we burn through that money at the beginning of the fiscal year, while all this work with contracts and purchase orders is happening on the operating side, so that we don't stop buying. So moving on to the state aid report, you'll see there's been a couple of expenditures since the last month. The Revitalization Trust Fund this is the Needham group that puts up the banners around town
Mhm,
and the artwork. So that's what that is. The library has its banners up now.
Yeah.
Seeing
Yeah.
the center of town. And then a license, an annual license for a motion picture licensing corporation. So I just want to talk more because why not? It's 8:33. But as you may remember last time, he set aside $72,000 for contingency money for phase one construction costs, potential ones, which we worked on occur. This is just very helpful as we begin discussions with Foundation and Friends about similarly stepping up to help ensure that we don't have to make bad decisions based on. So I just want to thank the trustees again for being forward thinking.
Closing that.
And then the trust funds is the last financial report that you have here, and there's not much to mention except we've had a couple of donations to the donation fund. And a few expenses that you see listed here on the report.
Are these fully up to date now in terms of our understanding of expendable and non-expendable? Based on interest in
Yes,
or
and
maturity?
ideally, in a perfect world, they'll be updated again in around the turn of the calendar.
Okay.
We've been behind the last few years
Right.
after retirements and personnel changes in the treasurer's office. So this, it's not what we were used to 10 years ago. Things have been changing in the markets, so hopefully we'll get into a more regular pattern, both with the markets and with the timeline for receiving. Available to expect. And this is also, there is a lag in orders that have been placed and invoices that have been paid. So Gerhard, you signed off on some invoices today that will be reflected on the report that we received at the September meeting. But in the meantime, too, our selectors have been selecting items to purchase with that. The orders have been placed, items have been shipped, and some invoices are waiting to be reviewed. So the process is, this doesn't look like we've spent a lot of trust fund money yet. That's not the case. The process has begun.
Okay. I just noticed that there's a lot more expendable money now than there was when we were waiting to get the readouts, right?
Well,
The prior trust fund
there
reports.
were 2 trust funds that had at some point fallen off of the library's records.
Mhm.
The information came to us with the previous treasurer, but we weren't able to fully clarify the provenance of the trust funds as it didn't match our records. And so we wanted, before presenting it as an option for spending, we wanted to make sure that was the library's money to spend. So that is also quite the job.
I just remember a couple of months ago, we hardly had any funds that we could actually spend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back in April, it was really.
Yeah. It's rough.
Have good interest information. Yeah, that's good. Moving on to statistical reports. The DI staff efforts are listed here, so you can see we continue to make concerted efforts to add materials to our collection that speak to all patrons in Needham, as well as having displays that highlight parts of our collection that also speak to our community. And the children's department had a Chinese language story time last month. That's great. And good turnout for that. I'll find out. And then the accompanying chart for technical services that shows total occurrences, items that have been added to our collection, DEI issues. And then, the new new item summary report. You can see here that this information is for June and July. So you can see sort of with the withdrawing, we sort of caught up a little bit in parts of the collection for withdrawing the adult fiction, the graphic novels, and the large print had some weeding in June, and then you see the numbers fall dramatically in July. So we, this is sort of normal for us. What we do, we address weeding reports, and so you'll see numbers fluctuate like this. But we're always adding things. So
Is weeding determinations based on circulation in terms of books that are taken out or not taken out?
yes, but also age for parts of the collection that are important. Books in the non-fiction collection that are related to health or technology, things that are outdated. Even if they might have circulated last year, there are things with information that may be wrong that we don't want.
And if I can ask about magazines, because maybe this is anecdotal and I'm not representative, but I don't have nearly the subscriptions that I once have, and I do come to the library to look at magazines, but I never take out magazines. And so I don't know how weeding decisions are made with regard to magazines, whether I'm typical in terms of reading magazines there and not taking them out.
So for reading for magazines, we look at checkouts, but also in-house use. So if you are tidy and put back the magazine,
Yes.
we don't know. If you are
So I'm better off not putting them back.
Yes.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yes, you're better, but we also have two baskets by the stairs, on either side of the stairs. We put them there, we'll count them as in-house use. So you don't have to really create a mess and leave them on the table. But if you do, we will not only put them back, but we'll count it as in-house use.
Well, I'm glad to know that.
And also, do we
Because
have a new?
that is what a lot of people do.
I put them back
No, I mean, a lot of people
Put 'em in-
read them in here.
in here,
You
that's
don't
right.
check them out.
Right.
So that's data we try to collect.
The newspapers disappear.
Newspapers.
That's the real.
Rob, I have a question. Actually, you just raised a question for me because, I also work as a page. We do the counts for the books, that are left like laying around. We put them into the counted as, being read but not taken out. Are the magazines supposed to be the same way? Or is that different?
The reference staff, well, the reference staff have a lot of in-house use. I don't know if they ask for input from.
No, I never have, but I know I'm always collecting books and kind of making sure they get counted. When I page, but I never. I just have never done magazines, so I figured it must be the reference there. That's just.
Yeah, so they regularly do that. So, yeah, if you see magazines and you just want to put them on those metal baskets.
Yeah, I've done that a
then
couple
they
times, so I
can
didn't realize
build
it was the
count.
same thing, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but that helps.
No.
So big too that Jackie, who's the reference librarian who's responsible for ordering periodicals, some of these initiatives, some of the little tweaks that she's doing to make sure that she captures the in-building access to periodicals. Some of these are a little bit newer. So she's testing out the waters and making sure that what she's asking staff to do will actually capture it. There you go. Yeah, so Jackie does want to make sure, this is something that other libraries have explored too. And so Jackie's making sure that she's seeing every usage. And it'll be a little bit of back and forth before we really like up the final.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Thank you. Good question. Last statistical report is the monthly report that shows circulation information along with study room use, library programming. And, I don't know if any of these numbers speak to you or raise any questions. I looked it up.
I like seeing the website hits way up.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's very interesting. Josh had the question last month about whether some of this increase is related to the poor usability of the Minuteman catalog now that it's been upgraded. So we looked into that and we came to determine the number of our agent through our website through our search bar into the Minuteman catalogs. But anecdotally, he shared his story that, it's what he's doing
Yeah.
because it's.
That's what he does.
Moving on then. That's it.
Yeah. Wait for the gift list.
We're moving on to the gift list. We just separated it out because of the vote late for this, and so just thought it would be good to be under new business as a action item that buried into the directed report. So we have two gifts that I referenced in my concern about the library trust fund report, totaling $525. I noticed here for trustee consideration, and we vote to accept them.
I hear a move to accept the gifts.
Move to accept the two gifts.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. All right, gifts are accepted. So we are in new business. And there are two items here that are also voting items. As a reminder, last month, Rob presented the fiscal year 2025 action plan. And we had a discussion and gave feedback on that. And now we see the updated draft of that action plan, which we can then move to adopt at this meeting. We can still have discussion, but the plan is to try to move for an adoption of this. So can I have a movement to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second.
All right, discussion.
Nice plan. I appreciate that. I see there's a few new, not very many, but a couple new things, including my, I think you putting that in about the possibility of exploring the electronic messaging board for the phone of the library. So that added. Great idea to do this measurement of success concept as the third column.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Do you have more to say about the people counter for children's?
Yes.
I was curious about what's the need, where that came from. I don't think we talked about it last time.
No.
Okay.
So besides the electronic message board that he brought up, all the items in yellow are additional staff input
Okay,
that we received since the last meeting, and we thank all staff, and especially, and then the reference program also gave some good wordsmithing, which I did not have. So if you really are comparing that, there's a little, it reads a little cleaner.
I can tell that we sharpened up. Yeah.
So thanks to the reference staff for that. But children's department, the people counter in preparation for phase 2, it would be a nice data point to help us with that project. But it's good in general for knowing when to looking at staffing levels during the week and when people are coming in. This is not a new idea, had been looked at in the past and was not pursued. And what we're unsure about is if it was because it was getting electricity to that spot, or that the door, or that the unit might be in the way of those doors actually closing. But it's been a number of years, and so the unit could be a new design or something. So we're going to explore the question again to see if it's possible. We have people counters now at the 2 main entrances, so it would be the same company, just a new unit to count who coming into buildings going to children's apartments. Yeah. And we just have to make sure that we can probably count carriages or babies being held as different number of people. if we find out it's affordable and the installation's gonna be a big problem, we just may move forward with it. It may not be like, oh, it's cast, we have to wait till FY26 action plan to say we're actually gonna do it. But we just wanna be cautious because we don't know what, I don't think cost is gonna be a problem, but the installation and whether or not we can do it. So that's why it seems a little fuzzy.
I did have another comment. I like the social media outlets point. I like the work that we're doing. I would just maybe suggest saying parents instead of children, as there's a lot, heard about the anxiety generation or anything like that. Like, not encouraging children to do social media, but children, I'm sure it's like children's programming, that type of stuff.
This one that's considered adding social.
Yes, yeah. Or maybe like children's programming, but not social media aimed at children.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll rewrite that to say geared specifically towards
children
the
and teen programming.
program
Yeah, programs
services
for
for children and teens.
Yeah, yeah. And similar language would carry over to the measurement of success bullet as well.
Can I ask you a question? When parents bring their children in, do they check them in or do they just randomly walk in and just go to? Is there like a system in place so when a family, like mother would come in and the kids run by, is there something in place so that you can get an accurate count of who's coming in?
Now?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, it should be.
The parents come to the desk and say, my 3 kids
Oh,
are
no.
here. No?
It's all technology. There's like a, in the ceiling, at the Rosemary entrance, and the Highland entrance. There's like a unit.
Okay.
That's space type unit.
Yeah.
It's like counting.
The eye in the sky?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like Big Brother. Yeah.
Okay.
For good purposes, for
Yes.
the library, yeah.
So that's, it is a little bit different. A lot of times the librarian will do it.
Yeah, I see TA with it. Especially like at Art. Yes.
Other questions or comments? Additions? We don't need to discuss all of them, especially if we agree with them. I think this looks really good. It's ambitious without being crazy, which is what we were going for. All right, with that, should we take a voice vote? All those in favor of adopting this action plan for fiscal year 2025, say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No? Great, it is adopted.
Thank you.
Excited to see this worked on over the next year. Next item, similar. We've already kind of gone through the fiscal year 2024 strategic plan review report. We were waiting on the statistical report to add at the end, which is now there. Thank you to the staff who helped compile this so that we could add this into the final version of the report. So this should look all familiar, except it has all of those pieces in it now. And so we're looking to officially adopt this as a kind of record of review for fiscal year 2024. Can I get a motion to adopt that?
To adopt the strategic plan review of 2024, right? 24,
Yeah.
2020.
Fiscal year 2024.
Second.
Second. Great. Any discussion on this?
Only that I'd like to just make clear our appreciation to the staff of the library for accomplishing so much over this past year.
Yes.
True, it is a tremendous record of their accomplishments. And one of the things that we discussed last week is submitting this to the select board and some other town staff so that they can see the work that's been done here at the library in the past year. And so I'll plan to do that after we go.
Right. Yeah, I think we do that each year. We try to submit the review. Right.
And if there's a place for us to post it on the website as well, we should do that. All right, so hearing no more discussion, all those in favor of adoption, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No? All right, passes. Great.
A question, clarification. At our last meeting, I know we discussed possibly doing a press release or something.
Oh, yeah, that was
I can't
another
remember,
thing.
was it on the review or was it on the action plan?
No, it was on the, I think it was on the review, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was on the review.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Because I can turn my, now that we've approved it.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
think you were the one who said you'd do it.
Yeah.
I did say I would do
Did-
it.
I think-
Do I really have to?
Michael's being direct on this. I believe you also volunteered.
Yes.
Didn't you
So-
say something about you writing a press
Yeah,
press
yeah,
release?
I kinda did say
Okay.
that, so,
Alrighty.
So I'm happy to do that and I'll
That would
submit
be
it to you and. to
Yeah,
Rob and,
we can work on getting that out there.
Weigh in on it and, is there anything in particular we think is worth emphasizing? When you write a press release, you can't put everything in the first sentence, so you try to.
You're
pick
talking
out
about
the
a
highlights.
press release for the strategic plan review?
Yeah, that's what we had talked about, just to say, here's the library's year has been completed, and these are the, this is what's going on at the library, and here are the highlights, that kind of.
Without reference to the action plan for the next year.
If we want to include the action plan, I mean, I could include something about the action plan as well, so that could be folded in.
It seems like if you're going to be having some sort of summary, it would be perhaps appropriate to have them.
Is there anything we want to blow our horn about, I guess is my question. We have a
The
new
fact
director,
that
yay.
a new
Director, you have a lot of things that are the movable parts of that were frozen are now moving with the allowing people to know that there are renovations going to take place here, which is a heads up just to like, this is what our work with staff, the trustees, that kind of a thing, just to kind of like say, hey, we are.
Set the stage.
Yes, so that then there's this anticipated kind of outcome, but then you might see more people coming in to see what's actually going on.
Well, I'll put that in your hands
Okay.
to imagine how we might promote.
And Rob, do you have anything you want to make sure we kind of put out there?
I just have an idea if it's easier, if you or I, tomorrow I'm meeting with Frederica from the Data Server.
Oh,
About
Mhm.
the
okay.
poet laureate program, she's writing about that. And if we
She's
just
writing
want
about,
to,
what is she writing
the
about?
poet laureate.
Oh, the poet
program,
laureate, okay.
We need more applicants. That's good. Yes.
That many poets, I guess.
But if there's just, a handful of people, if you just want to reach out to them and call them and ask them to write about this and skip a formal press release. Sort of woo the local
And
press.
just send them the review, is that what you're saying? Or how
Well,
will
I
they
could
know?
call them
You could, you
and
could.
talk to them and say, will
Oh,
you write
okay,
about
sure.
this? Because it's really important.
Can I ask that we work on that after the meeting?
All right. I just say it's another,
All right, we'll talk. How's that? And we'll figure out a plan.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Okay.
And I'm happy to help if it's helpful. I apologize, Kay, I skipped over your item because I was going in the order of things that were in my stack.
Oh, okay.
So I skipped to old business, but we had one more other piece of new business, which was the oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm getting all confused.
I'm
Appoint
under
trustee
wrap.
liaison to meet the next book club. That's the other thing we have to do. Right, and then we'll get to the arts.
Okay.
All right.
so the former liaison was Anna, who is not on the board anymore. So the Needles Connects Book Club is a book club of two organizations in Needham that read like a DEI title a few times a year, and so they're meeting this fall, perhaps separately, but we're helping them with their book club selection, and a liaison from the trustees to replace Anna who left is really needed to work with these two groups again to bring them together to have, you know, one book club meeting.
So we're looking for a volunteer
Yes.
to be the trustee liaison to the Needham Connects Book Club.
And the reference staff help and Gay help with getting the book and marketing with the club meeting. So it's not, all that work's not, the trustee does not do that.
Does anyone here want to express any interest in that?
Maybe we can volunteer one of the trustees who's not here.
I know Anna used to do that. She was our
Yeah,
Needham Connects liaison person, so that's true.
we are missing two trustees this evening, and so we might not have a full understanding of interest in this.
Bring back next
Yeah, we might table that and bring that back in September. All right, moving on to Library Arts and Exhibits Committee report.
Yes, okay, so had a little change that we're gonna need to vote on, which is sadly, Sherwin Long, our Boston artist who we have really worked on trying to recruit, has determined that he can't do it in September. He was signed up for September, and he has to travel out of state for some family matters, so we had to cancel him. So luckily, Gay Allen had a new artist who, Bruno Wernel, who is an abstract artist, oil painter, who had applied and is available for September. Otherwise, we have a blank wall for September. And so I didn't realize, oh, it's here. Thank you. Danielle. There, so, you know, this is a little bit of a last minute, but it's fun and colorful and playful abstract artwork. And so we thought we would ask for the trustees' approval tonight to substitute this artwork since our artist for September.
And they're large.
It's pretty rare. You know, once in a while we get an abstract artist. So, and this was, you know, nice, still different.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good colors and interesting patterns. So, if I'd like to call a motion to approve artist Bruno Wernel for September. The art gallery.
Need somebody to second it?
Yes.
I'll second it.
And do you have any discussion?
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, great.
Quick question. I know the arts committee relates to visual art, but is there going to be perhaps any library follow-up on the poet laureate thing in terms of a poet's reading or something that would, at the library, that would be appropriate to tie into the poet laureate? Just a thought. Seems like it might make sense to have some sort of library event tied into the poet laureate.
Oh, there will be, yeah.
There will be.
But I don't know
No,
specifically
it's not the arts committee,
but
but
oh, yeah, we're
we
like
might-
running it.
Okay,
Will be and heavily involved. Yes.
okay.
Okay,
Back
so
to
I'll
the
just
arts.
continue with my, so we do have one
Broad
other
sense
item
of-
that
A
we have.
broad definition of the arts.
Yes,
But
this is
we
poetry
need
is definitely.
applicants first.
But this
so
is, you know, the
everybody
arts
knows.
committee relates to mainly to the gallery. And so what we're doing with the gallery. So, as I mentioned, when we had, Brett from UTL talking, the committee, was initially concerned about the sort of lack of a corridor, or the only corridor being, next to the gallery. And, so that was a good, change that Brett showed us tonight. And we also just wanted to, as we move forward, both with this second floor design, but also, and the fourth phase is also going to touch on have more impact into the gallery area. So we came up with this letter just to communicate with the PTPC and UTIL. And I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it. I could read it. It's short. Which would you prefer?
I was able to read it. Did everyone get a chance to read it?
I didn't.
I read it.
I'm sorry.
Do you have a copy in your packet? No.
Do now.
Yeah. Okay, so once everybody feels like they've read it. Discuss.
You good?
Yeah, it's okay. I can get that back out.
Yeah, it basically just says, please remember we have a gallery. And, keep us in mind as you redesign our space in terms of, and the importance and the sight lines and the area that we need for people to gather. Just remember we have an art gallery.
So
If I could just say, I'm a member of the art committee as director, and I abstained on the vote for this letter, just FYI.
So did the art committee vote?
Yes.
Okay, so the art committee has already voted, which makes sense because it's a voting body.
And we are a subcommittee of the trustees, so
Right.
the trustees we submit this to the trustees
As an
we're
official communication
asking
to you
that you might be willing to, we might be willing to communicate to the DPBC and UTEL.
Well, we'll start with a motion and then we can discuss. You have a motion to communicate this to UTEL from the trustees in the Arts Exhibition Committee.
I move that we approve this letter.
All right, a second. But yes, second.
I'll second.
Okay.
I thought you said I second.
No,
I'll second.
I just like nodding. I was like, no, this isn't. I gotta hear the second.
Happy to second.
Thank you. So discussion. So the idea here is this letter communicates kind of the Arts and Exhibitions Committee. It would be as is. We'll send it to UTL as kind of a note from and to the that's right, to the PBC as well, as a note from the trustees, specifically from the Arts and Exhibitions Committee. Any discussion on?
Are we just sending that just to acknowledge that we have, we're in accordance with them, or are we sending it just to say, I'm not even sure.
We're putting it on the radar screen that we have an art gallery, which is not on any of the plans. It doesn't appear there. And so because because the library's second floor is currently being redesigned and the art gallery is adjacent to the area under redesign, the committee seeks to ensure that the art gallery experience is not negatively impacted by the new design, and we ask the designers to strive to accommodate the vital and active role of the art gallery in the library's daily life as they re-envision the use of the second floor space of the teen area. We strongly support the need for renovation and expansion of the teen area. At the same time, we'd like to bring to your attention the need for the library patrons to have a full and engaging viewing and gathering area for which to appreciate the work of artists and others who exhibit in the gallery. And it just says a little bit more about the important role of the
So is that going to mean that the existing wall will stay where we are doing at present? Is that going to?
So far as I know, there's been no change proposed to that.
Good.
So
That's what
we
I
don't
thought. I thought
totally
we-
know that. I mean, because the phase 4 will address that area more
Right.
than this phase 1.
Right.
I thought it was helpful your comments to Brett about this, because I think my understanding of your goal of this letter, with the committee's goal of this letter is really to say that when you're thinking holistically about the design work over these next 4 phases, understand that the art gallery is an integral part of the library. And so that needs to be understood in relationship to the work that we're doing in these different sections.
Right, yeah, that's well put.
It's just as important as the plaque in perpetuity kind of a thing, where it's like something
To keep in mind.
keep that is there.
Yeah,
that
that's right.
people
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not closing off the potential to have it in a different spot, or are you trying to?
No,
have it
we're really not making any
preserved there?
specific proposals for
Right,
anything.
and I didn't see that there, but
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was what you were
Yeah,
trying to
no,
get at.
No, we're
or
not.
if
There's no like
trying to
hidden
say-
agenda.
We want to have a space.
Just keep us in
for-
mind, we have an art gallery there. and,
Okay.
you know. there's no subtext.
It's really a beautiful thing to walk into our library and to see these different talents and different varieties of art being shown, because you can come in, it's just this beautiful wall of art.
It is, adds a lot to the
Yes.
aesthetic experience. And also we had a wonderful gathering there, 2 weeks ago? Rob was nice enough to show up for our, one of our artists gathered all her friends and had a little kind of sort of meet and greet up there.
Other questions about communicating this letter to UTL and PVC? Okay, all those in favor of sending forward this this letter to the PVC and to UTL, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, saying no. All right, we will make sure that this gets passed forward.
So, okay, you don't need me to do anything further, or?
No, I think
Okay.
between Rob and I will figure out how
Okay,
to forward this on. Thank you, Kay, for organizing that. Rob is not here to discuss the McIver series. Report from Friends of the Library, Jay? Anything?
Not much to report. August is a quiet month. They didn't have a board meeting, but they'll be releasing in September their plans for a speaker series over the next year. Some very exciting speakers will be announced at that time. And I guess in the fall, there'll be another book sale. Nothing really otherwise specific to report.
Library Foundation?
I would say the same thing. There hasn't been a meeting this month since last meeting.
Thank you, John.
Speaking of foundation, at some point, that whole question that Kathy DeDesio raised and you raised about the, you know, what do they call it, the room, the buying,
The
of
naming rights?
naming rights, yes, in perpetuity. And the question whether that's the policy we want to have going forward, I think is a worthy question. I just wanted to say that might be something for us.
Yeah, and I don't know where that policy resides, whether that resides with the foundation or with us.
In our policy bylaws to see if we have any information on that. Or
Yeah, it would be good to research that and to see if the town was involved in agreement with the library and the foundation. That has to be revisited.
Well, it's apropos of one of the things that we were hoping to do this year, which I wanted to raise during trustee comments, which is we're hoping to restart the review of the policies. And so I would love to maybe take that on as one of our first policy questions coming up in September. For those who are new to the board, the way that this works is, you know, we are responsible for all the policies of the library, both in terms of writing them and then approving them. We do that obviously with the staff and with Rob to make sure that it is, you know, something that we feel is an appropriate policy for the library to uphold. But it's also our responsibility to continue to make sure that those are refreshed. And so we wanted to bring those back and continue to kind of reevaluate those policies on an ongoing basis this year. So I think this is a good one for us to start researching and thinking about. The way that then proceeds is we'll have a discussion of the policy and any changes we want into that policy, and then we can vote on it at the subsequent meeting. So you cannot discuss and vote on a policy the same meeting, is the way our bylaws articulate that. So we'll work on getting those on the agenda going forward, and I just wanted to kind of share that with all of you. Because we had a very busy meeting tonight.
Yes.
No. And so, but it makes sense, I think, going forward to.
That is our primary responsibility.
It's one of our key responsibilities, absolutely. Other trustee comments? Thank you all for a great meeting. We got a lot done in 2 hours and 12 minutes. And I'm very impressed by the director's report and all the detail of the different things that have been done in the past month. The staff has been
Staff are
doing
great.
tremendous work. So, any other comments? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nope, all right, you're adjourned.
Thanks.